Hi there, it's Sandy Allnock with this month's Create in Color video. And this time I'm going to be working with fish. And I thought it'd be fun to do a watercolor card, but do something that you can do with a lot of different stamps that have little tiny images in them. You don't have to make a scene all the time like I do, but you can do something really cool like this. I set up my watercolor paper in my MISTI, and the watercolor paper is a little bigger than I need it, so I'm trying to stay away from the edges so I have room to trim. And I'm looking for a good arrangement of my stamps. I want to have some of the big ones on the left, some of the big ones on the right. I don't want them all in one section. I wanted to arrange them in a way that would be pleasing and that I could have different sections to divide them, but not have them be really, really regular. I wanted it to feel kind of organic. And the fish, I wanted to all swim toward the center rather than away. So this was the final arrangement I came up with for mine. And what I'm going to do is the simplest watercoloring you've probably ever seen. Might be the simplest you've ever seen me do as well. I'm going to just put blobby blocks of color over each one of these. I'm just going to rinse my brush in between and make blobby blocks. I am not making them straight. I'm not measuring anything. I'm even not worrying about trying to make them perfectly around the images. I'm letting some of the pictures hang out over the edge and letting them be all kitty-wampus, because this is going to make it feel really loose and organic and fun as opposed to very rigid. And it allows for a lot of errors. If you have errors, this will totally make it look like they were intentional and you were trying to make them all loose like that. So I'm just rotating between some of my colors in my palette. It doesn't matter at all which ones. And then let it all dry completely and start putting in another layer onto the dry paper. And with this one, you can either use the same color and use thicker paint, meaning less water and more paint itself. And that's going to give you a darker color. This one is actually a yellow and an orangey color. So it's New Gamboge with some Aussie red gold over the top of it. But you could also do that yellow with a darker yellow on top, that kind of thing. Or you can do what I'm doing here with the coral, which is to paint in a very light pink color, which for a light pink color, you'd use more water, and then drop in some of the darker pink pigment. Just make sure it's a little thicker on your brush so that you can just drop that in there and let the color move around as it wants to. Here's another idea, would be to paint around the objects. I'll go a little faster because we could be here all day. And you have art to make, so I don't want to keep you all day. But I'm painting around it right over top of the block I've already got so that the fish are actually lighter. And I used water around the outside edge so that I could blend it out to the area where I had made that original block. On each one of these, I would recommend that you stick with the same kind of colors, like I'm doing one blue on top of another blue, because it's going to make it a lot easier to blend. If you suddenly put a red on top of a green, you might get brown, and that would be a little unhappy surprise if you start layering colors and you get something unexpected. But if you know what your colors are going to do, then you could certainly layer different colors on top of each other. But the first layer, if you do it a very light wash, it allows you to really paint something else over top of it very easily. And then you also don't have to worry about going out of the lines on this portion because you don't have any white spots to worry about. You can just paint away, and if you miss a little area or you go outside the line, nobody's going to see it because they're going to see that block of color behind it, which is going to be perfect and fun. Isn't that the most adorable little octopus you've ever seen wearing his little goggles? This last one, I painted the stripes and the tail first and little fins. I let it dry, and that allowed me to go back in with some paint, heavier paint at the bottom, water toward the top, so I didn't have to paint around each one of those sections to make that graduated blend. I stamped something for the inside as well, and I wanted to do a background but not do it all the way around the whole thing. I wanted to stop short of the edge. And to make these kind of watercolory looking edges, you want to use the tip of the brush. So I turn my paper upside down. If you try to use the heel of the brush, the part that's toward your hand, it doesn't give you much control. So that's why I turned that puppy around. And then I can use darker colors than the blue to paint the bear. Now, I have never seen a scuba diving bear in my life. I lived in Montana and we didn't have much scuba diving there, but I don't even know if bears do more than wade in the water. I've seen them at the zoo kind of playing around in the water, but I don't think they're swimmers necessarily, but this bear is. I think it's also a male bear because the bathing suit is just the shorts. So unless it's like a little baby, where like little girls sometimes don't wear tops, then maybe. But I think he's a little boy bear. You could put a little bikini top on the bear and be just fine with that. You can draw your own on there and make it a girl bear if you wish. But I'm just going to add other colors on there. Notice that the color for the section that I put in the inside the glasses is actually a lighter gray. So whatever color you use for your bear, use a lighter color in the section where the glasses are. And this works for swim goggles as well as any kind of glasses. And it starts to look more like glass because you've got a different color showing through. So for the finishing touch on the glasses, I just got out my white gel pen and put a couple lines on there. And I made sure I went over one of the places that had black outlines because that made sure it's visible to the viewer and they get the idea that that is a shine across the whole thing. And speaking of shine, I used some glossy accents, one of my favorite ways to add a little bit extra fun to a card, and I covered each one of my little critters with glossy accents to make them shiny and let that dry really good. You don't want to put anything on top of it till it's really nice and dry. And it made them all shiny and cute. On the inside of my card, I also did glossy accents on the goggles. So this little guy has a little glossy accents as well. Had to wait and let that dry as well. That's it for my card this time. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, click the like button, and I will see you next time. Links to everything is in the doobly-doo and over on the blog. See you later. Bye-bye.